met a gypsy.
For those, I guess, that are listening at trying to understand what the hell's an Umbulgari track, it's up in the Kimberley, right? And it's about 550, 600 Ks of low range. There's no track like it. You speak to people overseas, and like that's several countries sometimes overseas, right? Going that far,
Yeah.
And this is one low range track where, you know, different on a bike, but in a car. I remember like day 4 or 5, I hit 30 Ks an hour, and that was my top speed after 4 days. It's that slow, that rocky, that gnarly, and we literally did not know if we're going to make it through. And I think that was half the excitement.
That come across in the film.
Yeah, it was just like we just go proper feral. Like when we're doing a trip like that, like, you know, we had the sickest crew. Like everyone who came on that trip, I don't think I could have done that trip without the crew that were on that particular one, because like the times were tough, and like some days would make 500 meters for a whole day of driving, and you think like, fuck, like that, you know, that can get you down.
Slog.
Yeah, and it's hard going, and then something breaks or you do a tire or something like that, and you're like, and then we started getting to the point where we're running out of tires real quick too, and we're like, fuck, we might be stranded here, properly, like. But we it was just a wicked adventure, man. It was just one of those things, like you look back and think that's like, yeah, it's not even once in a lifetime. I've done it a couple of times now, but nothing like that with those conditions, being the first to go through.
It's just a crazy window.
Oh, it was just epic, man. There's just so much happened on that trip.
Was that where you got your first barra too?
First Meter Barra.
First Meter Barra,
and then I backed it up with a second.
I saw one
Meter
just
Barra.
the other day,
I'm pretty passionate about the fishing side of things and all the rest of it. So
to just stand on a creek like that and pull a meter fish out of something like that with a fucking headlamp on, it's like a wild experience.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I'm surprised people from back home didn't hear me yell. Like I've been dreaming of catching a fish like that since I was like 5 years old. No shit.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, I'm about to pull my wallet out. I keep the scale. I'll release that fish, right, to live another day. I've dead set got the scale of that fish.
I fucking love it.
In my wallet.
That is unreal.
Like that's how much that means to me. That particular fish, right? And then
that's so good.
Yeah, and I backed it up with another meter fish, which is like in barra fishing, a meter fish is like,
it's like the holy grail.
Yeah, man. And then so. This is shows, I suppose, what sort of a nut myself and Graham are like. We did that trip and we were off grid for, let's call it 20 days or something.
So that was a big one.
It was a big one. I think we filmed 3 episodes doing that. And then, so we get back to Kununurra and, you know, we've been away for a long time from home, from our families, from life. And we hatched this plan, Graham and I. Like, the fishing was so good that we thought, fuck going home. We got to Kununurra. We went to the helicopter joint and said, do you reckon you could drop us off on these rocks? It's about 200 Ks in a straight line. Can you drop us off there for 3 days? And we had no hiking gear, right? So we literally just got back into Kununurra. We went to the local, like, BCF equivalent and bought an air mattress each.
I love this.
And we put whatever we could in a weird bag, bought some food and just went and fished hard for 3 days. Straight after doing that trip. Like, that's how obsessed we are.
That's so sick.
And it was epic. Like, we caught some really good fish and had just a mad time. We brought with us a bottle of rum that we kept beside our airbeds. And so we had a bottle of rum each. We had 4 beers between us. And we went up to this, because we're where the salt meets the fresh, and we went up into the fresh water and put these beers. I was a bit apprehensive about this, right? It was Graham's idea. We put the beers into the fresh water and to cool them down a little bit. It was like 35 degrees every day, and the water's about 29 degrees. So it's not really.
Drop a couple.
So we put them in the water, and then at night time we'd finish fishing like into the dark. We'd go back to our camp, put our rods down, walk up to the creek, look out for crocs, try and make our way through the water, pick up a beer each, go back and sit on our air mattress and just drink this warm beer. And I tell you what, one of the best
beer you've ever had in your life,
without a fucking doubt. It was absolutely amazing. And then we cooked every meal was fish. We'd just eaten barra, and we'd catch barra and put them in a rock pool. And so, because this doesn't happen very bloody often, but
really, so you made like a pool. Yeah,
there was just a rock pool of salt water in the rocks, and so we'd catch any barra, because it was actually
that's proper.
It was hard to catch an eating size barra. They were so big, and we like to release the big girls. And when we get a decent eating size one, we'd chuck it in this rock pool, and at the end of the day, we'd just go back and get us your dinner and grab the fish out, cut it up on a rock and put it in the
living,
coals.
Barry.
It really was.
That's living, Barry.
It really was. One of the highlights of my life, really, that trip, just doing things like that. Like, you know, it was just, fuck, we just did it. We just thought, because we were saying, man, we've got to come back. We've got to come back.
You know, like,
well, it is. When we were there and we thought, fuck, we've got to do this one day. And it was almost, no shit. Like, Graham and I just were waiting for the camera crew to set up and stuff. And we both sort of almost got out of our cars at the same time with the same idea. We're like, fuck, let's do it now. Let's just do it now. We'll never get another chance. We'll talk about it for another 2 years. Let's just make it happen. And we did. And I'll tell you what, trip for a lifetime.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it was super cool. We want to do, Graham and I are both like this. There's a heap of things we don't really film, but we're very passionate about adventures. So we always come up with these harebrained schemes to like do something cool. Yeah. You know, once a year, try and do something cool together. And we're talking about catching black bass and PNG as the next thing we're gonna do.
So sick.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things too. You got to slowly just build that audience on the channel that are there for, you know, the fishing, you know, the more fishing side of things. And I mean, it's probably a case of, if I'm just thinking out aloud, like maybe the more personal videos that you put out, that's more, you know, like you focused, as weird, you know, obviously as weird as that'd feel after the previous conversation. But I mean, I think you get to a point where people just do, you know, there'd be people that look up to you. There's people that do want to hear the way that you think about life and the way that you think about, you know, like you said, following your passions and doing things for the right reason. I mean, maybe that's the way, you know, you give people a little bit more of a look into like you personally, and they'll be like, by the way, I fucking love fishing. So you want a bit of this, you want a bit of this.
Check this out. Yeah, and look, I'd like to do it just to take people on the adventure, because sometimes you do adventures that are so sick that you feel like it'd be cool to show people what we got up to, because explaining it's one thing, but actually, you know, taking a camera there and showing people what we actually did, like walking in that creek at night, getting the beers out and sitting back, cheers, and going, this is the best fucking beer we've ever had. It's this warm emu export that's been sitting in a creek all day, you know? So there's little things like that. And one day I think I'll do some more of that sort of stuff. At the moment, we're just so busy with everything, and I just, some of the things I do for fun, I don't take cameras just to keep it fun, you know, just keep it exciting and fun, and don't need to show the world what I get up to.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.